Hello, I'm going to be doing a review of the Fiio Q1 Mark II Headphone Amplifier and DAC. So that's what the front of the box looks like. There's nothing on the sides or the bottom. So that's what the back looks like. Which I do want to mention, I forgot to mention in the iFi review, is you just have to log into their website to download their USB driver. So it's very simple. What I do like about the Fiio is it gives you a little code here that you can type on their website to check for the authenticity of the product, so you don't get like a fake product. Inside of the box you get this. The amp will be sitting into this foam piece. You do get a carry bag, and I would say that it's not moisture protective from, like, let's say sweat, but I do like it. I like this material better than the iFi one. And they give you more sizes of rubber bands. So they give you two larger size to attach it to your phone. And they also give you two smaller size. They also give you a USB micro to lightning connector. They also give you a 3.5 to 3.5, so you can also connect it to your phone using that. They also give you, since it does not have any rubber feet on the bottom, they include a silicone pad, so you can put this in between your phone and the amp so it doesn't scratch. And if you're going to put it on your desk, I'd recommend you put this under the amp so it doesn't scratch it. And they also include this authenticity check card, so they tell you how to go onto their website so you can check for the authenticity. And it has several different languages. And they also include a micro USB to plug it into the amp, to standard type A USB to plug that into your computer. And this cable is about 3 feet long, so not very long, but they do give you also a cable to plug it into your computer. And then they also include a user manual in many different languages. And here's the English part right here. And you can always go online and download that if you want to read that yourself, if you can't see it on the webcam. So now here's what the amp looks like. And compared to the iFi, it's about the same length, but it's less thick. And the iFi weighs about 4.9 ounces, and the Fiio weighs about 3.5 ounces, so it's lighter. But since this is more compact, it feels heavier. This feels lighter because it's more hollow, even though it weighs more. And I would say the metal on this feels a little better, but it does get more fingerprinty versus the iFi, which still does get fingerprinty as well, but not as much. So let's go ahead and talk about the back of it first. So you get a bass switch port, and basically how I remember is, if I'm looking at the top of it, and this is the front where I'm plugging in, I just remember that left is on and right is off, because it's really hard to see the lettering on the back. So you can do that to turn it on or off. And I will say that the bass boost on this is very good for any headphone that's very light in the bass, so something like SHP 9500s, or anything that's not already warm and dark sounding. So I don't really like the bass boost on headphones that are like the Sennheiser headphones or the closed version of the M1060Cs, because with the bass boost on, it's going to sound a little too boomy and a little too muddy as well. But it's very good for bass light headphones, so that's a very good feature. And then this is where you would plug in that cable that it comes included with. So you plug this micro USB into here, and you plug the other end into your computer. Then they also give you a high and low gain switch. And talking about the audio quality, I want to mention that on low gain, it feels like the headphones are not getting enough power, so certain things don't get enough oomph. So in low gain, I find that it tends to have recessed vocals, particularly in the balance operation. Now in balance, I still find that the vocals are recessed even if you have high gain on, but it sounds better in high gain, so I'd recommend you leave it in high gain because you just get a little more oomph in all the ranges of the audio. So moving on to the front, you do get a green DSD light, and then also you also get a light when you turn it on. So when it's on, it's blue, and when you turn it off and it's charging, so when you plug it in and it's charging, it turns red. And let's say if you have it on but also charging it at the same time, then this will be blue and red at the same time. So it'll look a little bit purple, but you can still see the blue and the red. And then the volume knob does go all the way down to there. And I will say that the i5 volume knob is very smooth, and this one is much slower to turn. So if you have it in your pocket, it's not gonna be, you're not gonna be able to brush up against it as and accidentally turn the volume up. So I do like how this is better for portable, while the i5 feels more like it's better for desktop use. Now I also will say I do like the fact that the indicator on here is much easier to see than the i5. Then you also get a 3.5mm TRS unbalanced connection. And then you also get a 2.5mm TRRS balanced connection. And then you also get a 3.5mm line out or line in. So you can, if you use it as a line out, you can send the DAC signal to another amp or powered speakers. Or you can also use it as a line in. So like if you connect your phone here, for example, or you can use that USB to Lightning and use this input instead either. So it has two inputs. So let's go ahead and talk about the line out first. Now when you use the line out, it's not a full line out. What I mean by that is it is affected by the high and low gain. So when you're using the line out, I recommend you keep it in high gain. And it also is affected by the volume knob. So you have to turn this all the way up to 100%. Now, compared to the i5, if you saw my review of the i5, the DAC will make it sound like how this sounds, and the DAC on this is going to make it sound like how this sounds. And we're going to explain that a little later. So we covered the line out, and we covered the high and low gain, and we covered the bass boost. So let's go ahead and talk about the sound quality versus the i5 Black Label Nano. Now the Fiio is going to sound warmer, more relaxed, but it still has good detail. But I would say the highs are never fatiguing sounding. And I would say this is still a very good sounding amp. Compared to the i5 is going to sound more clear, so it has more clarity. The highs and the vocals are not going to only have more clarity, but also more detail. But the highs on the i5 can sound a little fatiguing for long periods of time. And if you want to know a little more about the i5, I recommend you go watch the review for that. So the Fiio, now I covered the high and the low gain, and I want to explain that one more time. In high gain, it doesn't recess the vocals as much, and there's other sounds that will sound a little too spacious, so it's like happening a little too far away where you can barely hear it. So that's why I leave it on high gain. It sounds more normal on high gain. Now let's talk about single-ended versus balanced on the Fiio. I actually like this amp single-ended, but I do not like it balanced, at least compared to the i5. The reason why is when I go from single-ended to balanced, the vocals get really recessed, and it's a lot more noticeable when you have it in low gain. So it really recesses the vocals. Now it does increase the sound stage, and it makes things more spacious, or in other words, more airy sounding. So you get more separation So you get so when you run in balance, you get a little more better instrument separation and a little more space. So let's say if you have an instrument that's playing really close versus an instrument that's playing really far away. That's the thing, because this sounds very relaxed sounding. So those things that sound really far away, it's just not really detailed enough, in my opinion. And I don't like the fact that in balanced, it recesses the vocals. And back to the Fiio versus the iFi. The iFi in balanced does not recess the vocals. It does pretty much similar stuff to the Fiio, where it doesn't make it as airy or as spacious as the Fiio. I think the Fiio probably has better soundstage and more spacious and airy sounding when in balanced than the iFi. But the iFi, just like the Fiio, it does improve the clarity on both. It makes them slightly less warm. And it does improve the instrument separation a little more. And with that, you can hear a little more detail on both as well. The only problem is this: I don't like the Fiio because it recesses the vocals when it's running in balanced. So I would rather take the iFi over the Fiio for balanced. But this is like twice the price. And if you're not going to use the balanced on the Fiio, and you're just going to use it single-ended, then they're both pretty close to each other. This one still sounds a little bit better, the iFi, but I probably would rather, for less money, would recommend the Fiio Q1 Mark II, especially if you're looking for a headphone amplifier that's a little more relaxed but still detailed. So this is still a very good amp. And when I compared it to the Schiit Magni 2, I would say the Schiit Magni 2 sounds a little more like the iFi, but the iFi sounds more clean and less fuzzy. But that might have been because the Magni 2 didn't have a DAC hooked up to it. Now, if I were to add a Modi 2 to the Magni 2, would I rather have that or the iFi for $200? I would rather take the iFi because it has more features like IE match, which I think would make it sound better than the Schiit Magni 2. And the fact that it's portable and you can run it balanced. And once it's in IE match and balance, I think it beats a Schiit Magni 2. The Fiio, you don't have to spend another $100 to get a DAC. It already has a DAC included. And I would rather take, for half the price, or if you don't add a DAC on the Magni 2, I would still rather take the Fiio Q1 Mark II over a Schiit Magni 2 with the Modi 2, or without a Modi 2. So this is a very good deal in my opinion, especially if you're looking for something a little more soothing and relaxed sound. And then, like I said, in single-ended, the vocals won't be that recessed. It'll be only just a tiny bit recessed compared to this. So in single-ended, this is very good. And I really do like this amp, especially because it has a bass boost feature. And another thing I forgot to mention, another feature is the fact that this is portable. And I want to mention that this can last either 10 hours, I believe, if you're on USB connection, or up to 20 hours if you're using the line-in 3.5. Now, I tested it. I can get about 15 to 20 hours on this. So this has really long battery life. And the charge time is only like 4 to 5 hours. So that's very good. And that's another feature why I would prefer it over the Schiit stack. So I would prefer either of these two over a Schiit stack. Now, I haven't tried a Schiit Magni 3. Now, yes, it will have more power, but this is still strong enough to power T50 RPs. So the Schiit Magni 3, I don't know what you would really need the more power for if it's not going to make the audio sound better. It might sound better, but I haven't tested that amp. Now, for this amp, you need about, in balanced on high gain, you need just under 3 o'clock. Which, by the way, I want to mention that when you turn this on, the first quarter turn, so like up to 12 o'clock, there's like almost no volume. I do want to mention that. Until you get after 12 o'clock, then you start hearing stuff. But on balanced, on high gain, you need just under 3 o'clock. And then on low gain, you need about 3 o'clock. And that's for Sennheiser 660Ss, 58X Jubilees, or the Monoprice M1060Cs, or the Opens. And then I didn't test the T50 RPs balanced, because I don't have them hooked up like that yet. Now, for unbalanced, you need about 3 o'clock on low gain, and then on high gain, oh no, you need just above 3 o'clock on low gain, and then about 3 o'clock on high gain when you're running single-ended on those headphones. Now for T50 RPs, on low gain, you can max out the whole thing. It will start to get loud at like 4, or I mean like 5 2, and it stops at about 7. So about 5 to 7, it gets loud on the T50 RPs at low gain. But on high gain, this amp does have enough power for the T50 RP Mark IIIs. You need up to about 6 or 7 volume. Now, compared to the iFi, I do start to notice distortion maybe after like 3 o'clock, but you never really get past 3 o'clock on that. Well, this amp, I do start to notice distortion once you get past about 6 o'clock. So I do want to mention that. But it is powerful enough in high gain to run T50 RPs. And if you send them in for an argon mod, you can get them balanced. So they probably will require a little less power. So it is powerful enough to power those headphones. So back to the conclusion, and is there anything I didn't mention that I want to mention real quick? Basically, I think I covered everything that I want to talk about this, and I want to try to keep this review a little shorter. So for under $100, I would definitely recommend the Fiio Q1 Mark II. I would take it over to O2 amp. That one wasn't really good. The Ship Magni 2, you still have to buy a DAC and still is missing features and won't sound a whole lot better. I think this one sounds better than the Ship Magni 2, even though I didn't test it side by side. And once you run the Fiio balanced, it will sound a little more like the Untitled X1S. It kind of has that same recessed vocal sounding spaciousness that I don't really like. And that's why I don't really like the Untitled X1S all that much. And for less than half the price, I probably would rather recommend this over that as well. And so that basically the only contender with the Fiio that I like for solid states that I have tested so far would probably be the iFi. If you're going to spend a little bit more money, I think the iFi is a good choice. So thank you for watching.